Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make an air fuller for the air hammer. Thanks for watching. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into this. So as in times prior, I have a chisel from one of these air hammer tool sets, and these are great. You're going to want to keep a set of these just like they are, untouched. But we're taking and making modifications to these. Now I'm just going to point that out. What we're working on in this little video series is we're developing some air tooling. Now I have an upcoming repose and chasing job that I'm going to be showcasing how we can use all these air tools to be able to better produce this final product quicker versus having to do it all by hand and hammer. Now I enjoy the hand and hammer, but if speed and efficiency is needed, an air hammer like the one I bought, I'll put the link for that in the description below as an affiliate link. And you know, that one there, it seems to be working very well for me, and it's a very powerful air hammer. This really greatly increases the speed of production, which is important. So what we're working on today is we're going to be making ourselves a little fuller. Now you can get any size diameter rod that you want. This is 1/2 inch rod or 12.5 mil. And we are going to cut this end off about right in here, if you will. Just before it ends its fanning here, we're going to cut this rod off where it's a little thicker, and then we're going to weld this little bit on. Now you can make much smaller fullers out of the chisel end itself. All you have to do is grind it off to a radius, to whatever radius you want. But obviously there's a limit to this because there's not enough thickness here for you to get larger diameters. So for that, we're going to actually take and make up some larger fullers. Now this is a mild steel end. You could do this out of a piece of drill bit rod or something like that. If you want to TIG weld it on, I don't know if MIG welding would be the greatest for that, but you could definitely give it a try, however you like. But we're going to weld that on just like so, pretty much, back in here somewhere. So I won't show the welding on portion, but what I'm going to show right now is the actual bending, the bending section of this. I'm going to cut this off, I'll get it welded together, and then I'll show you how I kind of like let this cool and I keep this treated. I've showed this in another video before, but this may be your first video watching, so I'm going to show you that. The main principle that we're going to need to take and do though here is a lot of times with air tooling, you may angle the tool weird. So we need to create ourselves this bar here on the end, needs to be banana shaped like this. Or curved, if you will, for the air tooling. If we don't do this end of it, okay, if we don't do it like this, what will end up happening is this edge right here or this edge right here will end up leaving little back chop marks in your piece, kind of like that. And that's not what you're wanting. So if you just weld this flat on straight, you say, well, why don't you just grind off a radius on those edges? Well, if I just grind off a radius on those edges, then I've got even less fuller area, surface area to take and work with. You know, if I ground off this material here and back in here, and I ground this to a nice sweep, I've got less than a 1/4 inch of actual contact with this piece. And so that's no good. I'm wanting to create roughly about 1 inch of contact with this fuller. So that means 1 inch where it contacts the material right here to here, or 25 mil would be great. Now I may not actually get it to a full inch, it may be 3/4 of an inch or whatever, but here to here I want it to take and have a nice wide fuller. So that's the reason that we have to curve these ends up. You can do what you want with it, but this is the way that I'm going to undertake this process. Last but not least, when you're welding this high carbon to this low carbon, you have got to do a sufficient preheat of this material, and then you have to do a normalization cycle afterwards to make all the grain nice and happy. Otherwise, what you'll have is you'll have a hot line and a cold line, and what you'll do is you'll create a brittle point and it'll snap. It'll snap right off, right behind the weld usually. So you want to take and get yourself versed on what normalization is for a normalizing cycle and things like that. There's probably plenty of YouTube videos out there and about 1,000 opinions on what that is and what it looks like and what it should be. But we're working with an unknown steel. So we really don't know what it's going to be. So all we're going to do is we're going to give it our best shot, okay? We're going to do a good preheat on it. We're going to get a good bend on it. And we're going to let it be at that. So without further ado, let's go over to the forge and get this bar stock heated up. Okay everyone, so here it is. Basically put, all we're going to do is give this thing a slight bend. I'm using a rawhide mallet because I don't want to deform the outside edge of this. Okay? I don't want to deform the outside edge of this. I want to keep it nice and radius and round like a fuller should be. And then this is pretty much it. A basic bend just like that. Now we'll probably, you clean it off with a brush if you want. Here, it's not a real big deal, but we're going to get it cleaned up on the back side after we cut this off. After we get this cut off, about sawing right through here in that area, about right in that area, forgot to have my little pointer finger, then we're going to weld it into the end of the chisel bit there, and that'll give us what we're actually looking for. And so this is going to make a very nice fullering tool. I'll be able to work the tool, the air tool, from different angles and still be able to get a nice fuller groove the way I want it, and really be able to push some material. So I'll get this cut off and weld it up, and then the next thing we'll be at is doing the normalization cycle. Okay, here we are over at the forge. So I'm going to point out a few things. Now I haven't welded with, as I'll state again, with my new camera because I don't want to ruin my sensor, and I don't have the proper filters for that just yet. But what I've done is I've really built this up with weld right in there around that arch, and really trying to support this whole thing, this whole tool, to get to act as one piece of tooling. Now, I'm going to take this whole piece now and put it in this fire. I'm not going really hot with this. I just want to take and get this thing to maybe a dull red in temperature, a very dull red in temperature, and then I'm just going to let it cool. Now, there's a couple ways that you can take and do this. Now, if you find that the thing's still brittle, or you get some sort of brittleness to it, you can stick it in the ashes or into an ash bucket to take out even more. The big important part here is to make sure that this portion of the tooling does not get tempered. You want this end to stay its original factory hardness, or whatever its original heat treatment was. So this way it doesn't end up deforming in your air gun. The easiest way that I've found to do that is to take and put a coal swab. I've got a video on this coal swab on my channel. All you have to do is take and search coal swab. And in fact, I think I have the only video on YouTube about using coal swabs. So, there may be a few more now that I have posted that video. Other guys that have made videos around that. So just, you can search YouTube, or you can just search my channel. If you don't have a coal swab, which is nothing more than a rag on a handle here, just get a wet rag and put it on the piece to keep it cool. This will suck the heat out of that end and make sure that you don't over temper it. That is key. So we'll just get that good and hot, hopefully, to a nice red temperature. I'll pull it out here and check it for a second. Okay, see where we're at? There we go. We've got a really nice red temperature on there. And now all we're going to do is just set it off to the side of the fire and let it cool naturally. I find that this is the best way to do this. I don't try to do any hardening with it. Once again, this is a mystery steel. It's a mystery steel, so I don't know the actual proper heat treatment of this tool steel here. So if I knew the proper heat treatment, I would attempt it, but there's no point in doing that when you don't know what it is. So I've got that sitting there cooling. I'll pull this back so you guys can see that. There you go. As you can tell, the piece is cooling, and I'm keeping the wet rag on the struck end of the tool, just so this way I don't over temper it. Now, that heat is running back up through the tool, so it's giving it kind of a gradient of hardness. So out at the end, it'll probably be the softest, and then it'll toughen up as it gets towards the back of the tool, and that's perfectly okay for what we're doing. Once again, up here at the front, it's not a piece of tool steel, it's just a piece of mild steel, so it really doesn't matter. You're not going to get any hardness out of that, and there's no point in not wrecking the temper. You've already welded it. So, without further ado, that's kind of the finish of this. I'll get it good and cleaned up, and then we'll go over the anvil and we'll use it. And I'll go ahead and do that, and this is where I'm going to leave the video with my normal outro, where I say thank you all for watching this video. If you liked it, give it that big thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a big thumbs down. Either way, it counts as engagement, and I appreciate the feedback. So, without further ado, God bless you, and stick around for the bonus clip, and we will catch you around for the next one.